What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. This is a late afternoon video that I'm putting out here. I noticed something over on the Bitcoin price chart. Really, I kind of actually noticed it from looking at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. If you missed it earlier, I didn't, being a little forgetful, I went on the BitBoy YouTube channel today, BitBoy Crypto YouTube channel. I forgot that I was doing that, and I was talking about the structure of Bitcoin, what completed crashes look like for Bitcoin throughout history, if it's just going to have its standard crash here. Which we're not seeing signals here that this is going to be the bottom here for Bitcoin after we've started setting new lower lows, like I talked about in today's earlier video. There's just no signs that that is the actual bottom for Bitcoin that I can see, at least. And that typical full completed crashes for like 85% crashes for Bitcoin gets you down there to about 11,000. But I was reading an article on how there was, a Three Arrows Capital liquidation, and a lot of the collateral that was put up for the loan was in Bitcoin, but it was also in Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and they kind of had a problem being able to sell off all of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. And I was looking over at the chart because, Grayscale's chart has looked slightly different from that of Bitcoin's, in which that the highs that were set for Bitcoin back there on November 10th last year were not represented here on the Grayscale chart, but the actual height of the bull run for Grayscale took place back there on February 21st and then rolled over here in February. And then it wasn't able to set a new high over there on the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. But looking at the structure of actual, what's happening in here on Grayscale, and that, look, this thing's getting ready to set, it's already set a new low in there on Grayscale's chart. But we've talked about this many times on structures for what things can look like for crashing structures. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give it your fifth wave, then it rolls back up for 6, and then where do you go? You go on for your 7th. So if that's true, if that's the crashing structure that we're seeing over here on Grayscale, then we're not even close to getting to the end for Bitcoin. Considering how weak this bounce has been in here, unable to hold these higher highs and higher lows, what does that mean for the cryptocurrency market now that it's taken those out, and how low can things go in here? The structure for Bitcoin's looked slightly different in here, right? And that it's not looking like that. It didn't set a new low, but we can see it over there on Grayscale, right? Very odd to set this new high when we're using a bear market fractal in here to set this new high, and just how things have happened in here. And we just had our monthly close over there in the stock market. It was also the quarterly close. It was also the first half of the year close, because it's June 30th. We start the second half tomorrow. But at the stock market, as we all know, it's gotten really close to a 4.236 here on the Dow Jones. It's gotten really close over there on the NASDAQ. The S&P 500 was able to get to a 4.236 extension, but these didn't. The major thing I've been watching, of course, over the last month has been, are we going to take out the highs that were set back there in February before the C19 sell-off ended up happening? We were able to hold those levels for the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ throughout the course of the month, but getting awfully close. If we start taking those things out, it's going to look really scary for all markets. And we know we're going into earnings seasons. We already know that earnings are going to be really low. Fed data came out today. It already indicates that the economy is in a recession, even though the Federal Reserve is saying otherwise. We're seeing deflationary forces even happening over here in metals. As the month came to an end, you can see what happened over here with copper at $1.457, ending the month down here at $3.67. So that's quite a big move to happen over there on copper. And definitely it looks like a breakdown structure in here. Silver finishing off the month going to new lows. It's something I've always expected. Didn't know what the scenario would look like for it. Here we are. Silver finishing off the month, the lowest prices seen since back in 2020. And the one that's been holding up has been gold. But gold, does that look familiar to you? Is anything looking familiar to you with that kind of failed attempt to break out just like back there in March? But watching what happened over there with copper and watching what's happening over there with silver, and seeing this little area right in here as weakness is starting to emerge here in gold, what did we see happen over here with copper? And what are we seeing happen over here with silver? So for Bitcoin, it's pointing to, if it's just doing this normal stuff, it's still even got a little ways down to go. And for the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, for a standard crashing structure, what it's starting to look like now that even Grayscale set this new low in here, that's classic crashing structure in there. And put that back on there because we saw it over here that it set the new low in there for that third wave before a crash ends up taking place. And I've dived into this many times, and we've seen this happen over on the XRP price chart. I've shown this plenty of times here on the YouTube channel, and I have a video out. The signs the bottom is in for the Ripple XRP price chart is Wyckoff accumulation nears completion. This is back after the SEC sell-off in January of 2021, discussing this. And that we can see that playing out over here. If I get all of this off the screen, that's what you have, right? You have your first wave, second wave, third wave dips just below, as shown over here. And then wave 4, not so high. So you're not so high. And then we start going into those kind of crashing waves happening in there. Like we talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you roll back up wave 6 to wave 4 within wave 5. And then you go on for 7. And so this is becoming more apparent over here on the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust in here. And, these waves don't tell us where the bottom of that fifth wave is going to come in, whether it's going to come in way down here, it's going to come in up here or right here, whatever. And it doesn't tell us where the bottom of wave 7 is. But if this is the structure playing out in here, a crashing structure happening in here, which is starting to look like, especially since it just set a new low happening to come in right there, then it looks like we're going into full-blown crashing structure. And while the Bitcoin price chart hasn't gone on to do that just yet, and while Bitcoin's prices were holding up higher in here, if it's following along with Grayscale, then it shows multiple waves to the downside still. So Grayscale may be giving us a clue of what is actually happening in here for Bitcoin, while Bitcoin's been giving such odd structures happening from the very top. One would assume this is probably going to impact the rest of the cryptocurrency market to go with it. Percentage-wise, don't have any idea how much that could impact the cryptocurrency market, but it would probably be a pretty big flush, because I've always deemed this to not just be like corrective, but this is like crashing structure. And it looks like the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is in total crashing structure with 1, 2, 3, 4, and then off into the 5 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves as shown in here. And we can already see that this even set a new low in here right there today. So even though Bitcoin held it in here, Grayscale was not able to. Now, does that indicate some like deeper problems for Grayscale? Does that have to do with the fact that they got their Bitcoin ETF denied by the SEC and people are worried because the discount on Grayscale is like 37% or something crazy? Are people just abandoning ship on the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust? That's possible too, but like it could be its own personal things because of the fact that the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust got denied. But we also have to say, the price of Bitcoin did move down as well. Yeah, it didn't set a new low, but these kind of pit stops along the way were the same. So do with it what you will. I just noticed it over there on Grayscale as this was starting to kind of play out, that things kind of pick up speed and we go into these waves, and that if we're only in here, that there's still multiple waves down on here in a crashing structure, which it is looking like over here on the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust to me, with how these things are just happening so quick and they're just not able to hold much support in here. So wanted to show that to you. Wanted to show that today we also set those new lows over here on silver, so in commodities, right? And that copper took a big hit this week as well. And that, man, look at that monthly close for the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, just unreal. And posting up the structures of what crashes actually end up looking like that I've shown many times on this channel. And it's very interesting because it's really just like exactly like that of how we talk about these things with waves 1, 2, and 3. 3 dips a little bit below here, and 4, and then off into the crash it goes. That you could see that's exactly how it played out in here so far. So wanted to point that out as I see it, because the thing that we were looking for here for Bitcoin was to see if we could hold those higher highs and those higher lows. And once we took them out, well, what's next, right? It's not pointing to that. We're doing higher highs and higher lows for things to start rocking and rolling. So what is going on in here? And I thought I'd point to what I saw happening over there on Grayscale with what a crashing structure looks like and how it's looking textbook over here on Grayscale. I mean, it does say, the majority of it is done, but it doesn't mean the most painful part of it is done, right? I mean, it says that, if we're going to have one more, that, that would be painful, and rolling back up, people would be super excited, and then another one would be painful again. And there's no telling where that stops at, where that wave 5 ends up coming in there. So watch out, do with it with the information that you will. But now that Bitcoin has taken out that low over there, it's time to start peeking around. What are the other scenarios that could be happening in here in regards to downward price action? And Grayscale giving a peek in there. So we know the total market cap of the cryptocurrency market still holding its all-time highs, and the 200-week moving average over here on the altcoin market cap holding the all-time highs, and daily candle closes above the daily candle closes from the previous all-time high happening over here on the altcoin market cap. But with Bitcoin being below that 200-week moving average, with the depths of how far these things have gone before, with how fast things have been happening, and all the other things that you see the rumors out there swirling today about FTX buying out BlockFi for $25 million at a 99% discount. That's still rumors. I saw this over here shared by Zero Hedge, FTX to buy BlockFi for $25 million at 99% discount from the 4.88 billion Series E valuation in July of 2021. Seen that shared all over the place, seen it shared by CNBC. Zach Prince, BlockFi Zach over here on Twitter says lots of market rumors out there. I can 100% confirm that we aren't being sold for $25 million. I encourage everyone to trust only details that you hear directly from BlockFi. We will share more with you as soon as we can. There's something going on over there, whatever it is. But if we're heading into another one, right? If we're heading into another one of these waves, which it sure looks like over here on the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust textbook of what things have looked like before, looking like it could get pretty rough. So I don't know if that will be right. I can only share the things that I see over here in the market with you guys. With the loss of that higher high and higher low happening in there, the question comes, well, what is happening? And right now, that's looking pretty feasible over here on the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Really is looking pretty textbook of how these things go in here before things go really ugly on this type of structure. So I don't know. It's what I see right now. Wanted to share it with you guys. If that's the case, it would mean that there's a bigger flush coming out here in the market pretty soon, or at least next, right? And that actually would kind of make some sense right in here, right? If you're looking at this and you're saying, hey, look, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, then what happens? Roll back up to wave 4 within wave 5. And what is it actually going back to do? It's going back to touch that moving average in there before it goes on and has a final one down in there. No, it's all theoretical. It's all based on what structures can look like. And GBTC is its own thing. It did get hit with its own negative news narrative within the last 24 hours of getting a denial of a Bitcoin spot ETF, right? But a lot of this move that's happening here has been pretty similar to Bitcoin. So, all right, wanted to get that out there. Do with it what you will. If it's true, it means we do have some more pain coming here in the market. And due to us losing that low, time to just look around and say, what's happening in here? I try my best to be as non-biased as I possibly can. And sometimes things are hard to see in different directions, but for the downside direction, this is where my eyes are gravitating to when I look over here at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So maybe you see something different, but that's what I'm seeing right now. So wanted to share it with you. If it's true, if we're in crashing structure, there's still 2 more waves down to go. So we shall see. And I'm never going to tell you guys what to do. But if you look at that, right, and you say, hey, that's crashing structure, it's got multiple waves down, it likely means the altcoin market is going to take a hit with it. That's just the likely thing that happens in those types of situations. That's how this market typically plays out, right? And it's about placing bets, right, and deciding, is that the likely thing that is going to actually end up happening next? And, I'm going to hold through it, long-term holder, short-term get out, or accumulating. That all that stuff is up to you. I'm just showing you the charts and showing you the things that I see on the charts. And it's up for everyone to decide, is it important? But when I look at that Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, man, that is exactly what I've seen like all those crashing structures look like. There's still another wave. Then there's a roll back up to wave 4 within wave 5. Then you go on to wave 6. We'll see if that's what ends up playing out. If it does, probably we're going into like the climatic action of the market next, if that's what's happening. So there's a lot of people cheering for lower prices out there. Bearish tweets on Twitter get like massive engagement now. It's pretty wild. So everybody's kind of cheering that on at the same time. Thing we know is that the altcoin market's holding the all-time high. It's holding the 200-week moving average. But at the same time, we know that Bitcoin hasn't. So it'll be interesting to see how those two things react. But historically, in like a crashing situation, if that's what Bitcoin is doing, typically the altcoin market gets impacted by that at the same time. The big question is, with the Bitcoin and the Ethereum dominance looking the way that they're looking in here, based on what has happened in these structures before, is that those dominances fall. What does that mean for the altcoin market during that time? How much of this is going to be impacted by like stable coins being in the altcoin market? Unknown. So that's kind of the crazy thing too. You got total 2, you got the altcoin market sitting above the all-time high and holding the 200-week moving average. You got Bitcoin who's broken it. You got the the Bitcoin plus Ethereum dominance looking like this, which looks like a crashing in their 2 dominances as it's heading down. What does that mean for the altcoin market in something like that? If that's what's happening next right here, we'll find out. But all right, I'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. I'm supposed to be closing this out and then I move back over to that. But yep, That's what I'm seeing right now, especially over there in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Late video release again today. I hope that you're doing okay out there. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.